What's up, y'all? So, today I'm going to be talking about my trip to Marlins Park back in August of 2017, August 11th, 2017 to be exact. Not really wearing the shirt for the occasion. I wore the shirt last time when I talked about Truist Field, Truist Park. So I wore my Marlins shirt for that. Now I have a twin shirt on. I actually got to go to Target Field back in 2018, so I'll be talking about that here in a few weeks as I kind of, progress through all the stories and all the stadiums that I went to and all the videos that I'm about to record as well. So, I really enjoyed my time at Marlins Park, although I didn't really thoroughly enjoy my time in Miami as much. Miami was such a busy city. It was insanely hot in August. I can't say I loved my experience in Miami. Thankfully, I was only there for about a day. I was kind of happy to leave, to be completely honest with everybody. But Marlins Park was amazing, and it is a place I'll never ever forget. Some of the things that stuck out to me were just the caliber of players I was able to see on that Friday evening, and where I was able to sit in the park. The Marlins have had two World Series in my lifetime, 1997 and in 2003, and they've had some other playoff baseball teams in that city as well that didn't result in World Series championships. But in 1997, they beat the Cleveland Indians. Jim Leyland was the manager, so that was pretty historic. And then 2003, I believe Josh Becca kind of carried them throughout the playoffs, and then some clutch hitting as well from a magnitude of guys. But the Marlins, although they haven't been in existence too long, they kind of have a nice little history, especially as of late in my lifetime. Recently now, going through some ownership changes. Derek Jeter, trying to do the right things, has done a lot of weird things, some questionable things, but, it's his first ownership gig, first general manager sort of role in an organization like that. So he's got a lot of changes he's making, and I'm kind of glad I got to see the Marlins in 2017 because, they had the best outfield in baseball at that time, and before they broke it up, I got to see them all play together, and I got to see Giancarlo Stanton in his MVP season, in which he hit 52 home runs. And I got to see him hit home run number 40 of the season. So that was pretty exciting. He hit a shot down the left field line, and he was actually in one of his hot streaks when I got to see him. He had hit a bunch of home runs as of late, and I got to see him, hit another one that night. And then I also got to see one of the other best players in the National League at the time, Nolan Arenado, still one of the best players in baseball and in the National League. He hit, I believe, his 26th home run of that season. And, those two are two of the best all-around hitters and also two of the best power hitters in baseball and have been as of late as well. So it was pretty cool to see them go head-to-head. And, the Marlins came out on top in that game by a score of 6-3. So, it was a pretty high-scoring game. Like I said, I got to see Nolan Arenado hit a home run, Giancarlo Stanton hit a home run, and Gerardo Parra also hit a home run that day. The Rockies were a better team during that season. They had a winning record, but the Marlins actually took care of business of the Rockies in that particular series. The Rockies coming to the East kind of screwed up the time. I don't know what exactly happened. Marlins Park is a pitcher's park, so I don't know what exactly screwed up in terms of that, but nonetheless, the Marlins took that series from the Rockies at that time, even though the Rockies were one of the better teams in the NL that season. A couple other things that stuck out to me about that ball game was just the talent that I saw from the Colorado Rockies and also the Marlins at the time. The Marlins, like I said, had the best outfield in baseball. They had three all-star caliber players. They had Marcell Ozuna, who's with the Cardinals now, still a tremendous player. They have Christian Yelich, one of the best players in baseball. At the time, hadn't quite blossomed into the player that he is now, a five-tool player ultimately. But, he was still very raw. You could really see that he was built like a baseball player, and had unlimited potential. And now he's one of the best players in baseball playing for the Brewers. It kind of stinks that those two are playing against the Pirates all the time because, the Pirates aren't too good, and they're killing the Pirates, since they've gone to the NL Central. But I also got to see Giancarlo Stanton before he went to the Yankees. He hasn't had the greatest success with the Yankees, but, I got to see him in his MVP season of 2017, the best season he's ever had. So that was definitely a treat as well. I also got to see from the Rockies Charlie Blackmon, who is one of the best center fielders in baseball as well. He hit a double and kind of showcased his speed and all around his athleticism, which is something he brings to the table. And, it was truly amazing to see him play as well. Back to the Marlins, I got to see D. Gordon play before he got traded and moved around a little bit. His speed was incredible, and he's just such a wizard in the field as well. He's able to just have such range because of his speed. Just such an amazing athlete. So that was definitely cool to see as well. Thinking back to the Rockies, I got to see John Gray pitch. He was one of the best young arms in baseball at the time. I think he's had some struggles since then with some injuries and also not pitching up to par, but at the time he was one of the best young arms in baseball, and the Marlins actually did get the better of him that day, but it was still kind of cool to see him and see his potential, and he's still a great pitcher. For the Rockies, I also got to see a few more other talented players. Carlos Gonzalez, he's battled a lot of injuries during his career, especially in later years in his career, and I don't think he's a member of the Rockies anymore. But just to see him and kind of the star power that he used to have was pretty special as well. Mark Reynolds, one of the best hitters of my generation, home run hitters anyway. Strikes out a lot, but just to get to see him in person was pretty cool as well. He's played for a lot of teams and a lot of divisions, been around a long, long time, signs a lot of one-year deals, hops around, tries to win a World Series championship, but, get to see him, one of the best hitters of my generation, one of the best home run hitters. Like I said, strikes out a lot, but he was truly amazing to see as well. And someone else that was pretty cool, JT Remuto, now with the Phillies, he was a great player. Not a lot of catchers hit over 300, and he's consistently hitting over 300 with some power as well. So he's one of the, best young players in baseball. One of the best catchers in baseball that I've seen in a while. So, it was pretty cool to see him as well. So kind of about the stadium itself, pretty cool. It was the first dome stadium I was ever in, pretty recently built. When I got there, it was only a couple years old. It was really hot that day, of course, like I mentioned earlier. Miami's just so scorching hot in the summer, and it was just truly uncomfortable for me personally, being someone from the north, and then going down there and just feeling how hot it was in Florida for those few days, and especially in Miami. But yeah, so the stadium was pretty sweet. I got to see the center field sculpture before Derek Jeter decided to kind of take it out, and the Marlins no longer have that. So I got to see that amazing sculpture that was worth like several $1 million. Had all kinds of crazy wildlife on it. All kinds of bright colors and decorations when they hit like clutch hits and home runs and stuff like that. So it was cool to see that before it was taken out. And just to kind of finish this video off, it was also amazing to see the lack of like sponsors in that stadium. Florida, amazing weather, and lots of great baseball players from Florida, lots of great baseball tradition down there in terms of college baseball. But for whatever reason, the Florida Marlins, now the Miami Marlins, they just don't get the crowd that you would expect. Even if being in a dome, they just don't seem to get the people to come out. So that you see a lack of sponsorships, and it's called Marlins Park because nobody sponsors the stadium, and I just think it's because of a lack of people really going to the games for whatever reason, probably a magnitude of reasons. There's so many different things to do down there in the summer. There's plenty. The beach is always packed, I'm sure, and there's a lot of other sports and stuff. They're big into college football there down in Miami. The U is huge, and it's been a huge and amazing football tradition for a long time. All my life, and thinking back even when my dad was growing up watching college football, he said the U was starting to kind of form into their own back then. So, so many options in Miami in particular. So I think that kind of contributes to, the lack of sponsors in that stadium. And, I was able to get tickets in the third or fourth row for relatively cheap. I think I only paid $30 to $40 to sit in like the third row. And, I think about going to Pirate games that I've gone to in the past, and I paid $30 or $40 to sit like, way up in the stadium. So it was pretty amazing to sit that low on a Friday night, weekend in the middle of summer during almost getting to playoff baseball. So that was pretty special. We really lucked out in terms of picking tickets. We sat right on the left field line, got to see all those home runs the home run that Arenado hit and Giancarlo Stanton hit right down the left field line because we were on the third base line, and it was truly amazing. We couldn't have picked a better seat. It was an experience I'll never forget. Definitely one of the best stadiums I've been to of the 14 that I've been to. And next up in this stadium kind of travel blog that I'm working on is I'm going to be talking about Busch Stadium when I went out there in May of 2018 to visit my cousin who actually lives in St. Louis. So I'm thankful that she let me stay there. And then also we got to go to Cardinals-Cubs. That was truly a treat as well. One of the best rivalries in all of baseball. So looking forward to talking about that soon.